And joining us live on Battle Cry, we have the great privilege to be joined by Air Chief Marshal RKS Bhadauria, former Chief of the Air Staff, and I dare say one of the leading proponents of both Atmanirbharta Bharat in defense and one of the leading advocates of the Tejas program. Air Chief Bhadauria, always a pleasure, sir. Good to see you. Thank you for your time here on Battle Cry. This is the first episode of the new season of Battle Cry for the new year, and we thought, the Tejas is perhaps the best subject to choose because it has been inspirational. You've had so much to do with it as well, Air Chief. And, it's a year when we hear that 97 more Tejas Mark 1As, might be ordered. An indent has been placed for that as well. Your thoughts on the program thus far, having overseen one of the biggest orders of this aircraft, sir?
Oh, firstly, let me compliment you for choosing the right project, starting the new year. Great choice. I think LCA, if you have to really see, this is what has transformed the aviation industry and the defense industry in many ways, in terms of technology, in terms of making it a successful program, in terms of getting back the confidence to do such programs. It is a huge achievement. I'm now talking of last 20, 30 years of effort that has gone behind. As a aircraft, I think it has come a long way, starting from first flight, our first initial orders of 40. And the Mark 1A order is what really changed the things around. Our order of 83. The industry is getting energized. There are a huge lot of achievements, improvements in the program itself. So overall, I think I have a very good feel about it, firstly, that this is a program which has succeeded and done well. It is an aircraft which today the Air Force is very proud to have in the inventory. It's an aircraft which the Air Force and the industry is moving towards what is to be done next. So while we work towards Mark II, initial additional order of 97, again, it's great news. Because that is what will really set up, scale it up, get the manufacturing capability to the next level. Now we have to think big as an industry. Initial order of 40, 83 was the starting point. I had always maintained that this aircraft 200 plus will come into the service. This is 10 years back. And I'm so happy to see it fructifying in this manner.
No, it's incredible, Air Chief, because, like you said, this is one of the, the dream come true as far as aviation industry is concerned. And knowing you personally, I know how happy you must feel about seeing these additional orders also in the pipeline. My question to you now is, 2 squadrons have been in service for a few years. The Air Force loves the aircraft. It has definitely turned a corner. The Mark 1A, which is an improved version of the Tejas, will begin, deliveries in just a few weeks from now, sir. We understand that some of these new squadrons could be in, areas away from the south, could be in some frontline locations as well, which is very, very exciting for, Tejas proponents and advocates because it gives the fighter a real chance to be out there, in operational areas, as it were. How does that sound to you? Is the aircraft, in your view, ready to, leave the safety, as it were, of the southern part of the country and be deployed in actual forward air bases, sir?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. I think time has come, and that's what is happening. The aircraft would get deployed to forward locations. The aircraft is fully settled and capable to be able to handle those tasks. This transition phase has been good. It was required. And as the new squadron form up, they will form up in the south and then move on. Our plan of action, so to say, to induct this smoothly and to build upon it and build our team, build a base to launch from Sulur will remain as the initial, base where all these new squadrons will be bedded in, and I think that is working well. In terms of readiness, when they reach their locations and readiness to do the task, they are absolutely ready. Absolutely, there is no doubt.
Air Chief, in the media, in the press, the Tejas is often described as the MiG-21 replacement. Now, we of course know that the Tejas is much more than just a MiG-21 replacement. It's going to perform many more roles than the MiG-21 did. But in terms of the essence of that statement, which is to be a kind of frontline combat backbone for the Indian Air Force, you're saying that the Tejas is ready to fulfill those big shoes that will be vacated by the MiG-21s, because the MiG-21 fleet, as you well know, sir, are on their last legs. The last of those squadrons will be retired very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. That is more to say in terms of MiG-21s phasing out, and therefore those squadrons need the replacements for fighter aircraft. So it is a MiG-21 replacement from fighter squadrons point of view. In terms of capability, it is well beyond MiG-21. In fact, it is equivalent, very close to Mirage 2000.
Right.
And that such capabilities normally in terms of performance, but when you start looking at weapons and networking and other capabilities that are quickly being built into, some of those capabilities will exceed Mirage 2000 in its current form, and that is what we are looking at. So the one is that will come up now in terms air-to-air refueling capable, data link capable, have secure RT, have more advanced weapons, BVR, which is much more capable,
Yes.
precision weapons, which are 100 kilometers kind of weapons, air to ground. So the capability is only getting enhanced. In numbers, it's a MiG-21 replacement. In capability, is much beyond, and that's what we have to remember.
Speaking of, capabilities, sir, the Tejas Mark II has also been in the news recently. You know, it has taken many different forms and shapes. It was called the medium weight fighter briefly. Now it's once again called the LCA Mark II. It's a more capable fighter. It aligns much more with what the Indian Air Force had originally expected in terms of performance, from the Tejas program originally. There has been some controversy online, offline about, the timelines of the Tejas Mark II as well, whether funds have been released on time, whether it will meet its, timelines, etc. What do you think, sir? Because there is one section that believes the Tejas Mark II is an absolutely, it's compulsory that the Indian Air Force must get the Tejas Mark II. There is another side that says the resources being put into something like the Tejas Mark II should be rather put into a more future-ready program like the 5th generation fighter project, sir. Where do you stand on this?
Oh, there should not be any doubt in this matter that Mark II is an essential next step. We should not have any doubt. We must understand that Mark II is not a project that was initiated today in terms of design and other actions that were needed. Those actions had started a couple of years back. And Mark II is an essential step because many of the systems and technologies which will go into 5th generation are actually coming up in Mark II.
Right.
So Mark II is an essential step from point of view of getting a next higher capable LCA Mark II. Therefore, whatever nomenclature you use, it doesn't really matter. But it is a much more capable LCA platform as Mark II. In terms of weapons, sensors, capabilities, overall reach, endurance, everything would go up. Once the systems get qualified on Mark II, the design and development time of AMCA would get reduced. Now there are 2-3, areas where we need to be careful. This issue of whether Mark II is on, there should be no doubt it's already on.
Right.
Mark II is not a question mark. We need to speed it up. That is the issue, I think. So one, if you have to look at industry, we need to scale up the Mark I production rate so that this 83 plus 90 happens fast. And we need to speed up the D&D portion of Mark II to make it as early as possible. There were some very optimistic timelines given earlier, and I had always maintained it will be a little longer, but I see it coming through, I would say by about 26, 27, Mark II should be flying. And if that happens, it's a very good time frame. It will straight away reduce the risk levels and ensure the confidence level goes up for AMCA. And AMCA is will become a certainty in a shorter time frame. That is also important.
My final question to you, sir, and it leads into from what you said about the AMCA itself, because, these are complicated matters. You've been Chief of the Air Staff, so you've had a chance to, get the deepest possible view about all these decisions, and the kind of inventory that the Indian Air Force gets. Something that you must have heard quite often from the media, from others, would be that, US के पास already है 5th generation fighter, China के पास आ गया है, Russia के पास भी आ गया है, why doesn't India have it? why is India building a fourth generation fighter? As far as the AMCA is concerned, that is also not a new program. That's been on for a while. Can you give us a perspective as a former chief, sir? Where do we stand as far as fifth generation fighter program is concerned? When do we expect that to come online, sir?
In terms of technologies for the fifth generation, I think except for the stealth, some of which needs to be established in terms of confirmatory tests and final result of it. In terms of other systems, basic designs and all, we have come a long way. I don't think the risk levels are high enough to get worried at all. Whether we can make a fifth generation aircraft, looking at today, absolutely yes, there is no doubt. How much energy should we put and how fast it can happen? I think both Mark II and AMCA needs to be pushed simultaneously. There are technologies in AMCA which would take a little longer, and
Yes.
and that will fall into place. But rest of the systems will come up on some will come up on Mark II, and therefore I see AMCA coming up in about. Although there is a little more optimistic time from DRDO, in 10 years I see AMCA, getting ready for nearly completing its IOC. And that's a good time frame. Yes, we are a little late. The Western world is ahead. Yes, China has already got a fifth generation, but we are going to be mitigating some of this by having some of the technologies in AMCA which are bordering on sixth generation. So that is the way
Yes.
to go. What we have time frame we lost. We can't keep talking about it. Let's look ahead. And important issue is to start putting in technologies. That means some of the, let's say, direct energy weapons, airborne, if that becomes successful, it needs to come in. Some of the really advanced sensor data fusion and networking issues, that needs to go to the next generation. That needs to come in. The
Yes.
electronics, ESMs, that needs to go to the next level. That work can happen in parallel in many in LCA program or in some other programs. In need not necessarily in AMCA. Some of the other programs of DRDO, that needs to laterally feed into this. So the next generation, sixth generation technologies need to come in. Straight away, we should talk of manned-unmanned teaming. That
Yes.
tech and capability needs to be brought in. That is the way to go, I think.
I think that's a very, very nice and optimistic note to end on, Air Chief. I thank you very much for this. When you say that, let's not worry anymore about lost time, we will make up for it through technologies. The time taken to develop some of these futuristic technologies will actually be tunneled down, which is a very, very inspiring thing to hear. I'm sure not just for scientists and the Indian Air Force, but also for, millions of aviation aficionados who watch Battle Cry and have been very keen to hear your words on this shape-shifting topic of the Tejas, which inspires so many millions of us Indians. So I thank you, Air Chief Bhadauria. It's always a pleasure to have you here on the show. Thank you, sir.
You're always welcome.